Hey guys! Today we're learning one of the most powerful and useful parts of JavaScript, objects. Objects let you group related values together, like a user's name, age, and email, all in one place. So what is an object? An object is a collection of data written in key value pairs. Think of it like a mini database of information about one thing. So let's create an object. Let's declare a variable called user, and then we want to assign it between curly brackets, and that's how you create an object in JavaScript. It has to go inside curly brackets, like so, and then we're gonna give it some key value pairs. So the first key will be name, and then we're gonna pair this with a value, for instance, James. So remember when we said an object is a collection of data written in key value pairs. This is very important to understand. So in this example, the key is name and the value is James. So this is why it's called key value pair. So basically each key, like name, is paired with a value like James in this case. Okay. Then we add another key, age. We give it another value, 25. So this is another key value pair. Then let's add a third one, is member, which is a boolean, and we will set it to true. So now if we console log the user, we get an object. So this is the user object, and it contains three key value pairs. The first key is name with a value of James. The second key is age with a value of 25. And the third key is member with a value of true. Okay, so how do we access the values, these values, inside of an object, the user object in this case? Well, there are two ways to achieve this. The first one is using dot notation. So we console log the user and then dot. You can see here that I have access now to age, is member, and name. So if I want to access the value name, I simply select it from the object. So the key here, name, is gonna return to us the value that is paired with it, which is James in this case. So if we select name, we're gonna see in the console James. So this is how we can access the value using dot notation. There is another way, which is bracket notation. So the way we do that, console log. So again, we want to reach out to the user object, and then this time, instead of having a dot, we have square brackets, and then between quotation marks we enter the key that we want. Notice here how when I open the quotation marks, it now gave me access to the three keys that we have in the user object at the moment. So we've got name, we have age, and is member. So here if I want to select age, so now I can see 25. So the first method is the dot notation method. And the second one is the bracket notation method. Okay, so let's comment these out just to clear the console and see how we can actually update or add values to an existing object. So let's again here console log the user object. So this is our user object at the moment. And let's actually change a value. So the way you do that, you go to the user object, and then what do you want to target? Which key you actually are trying to target? Let's say we want to change the age from 25 to 26. So now we've got user age selected here using dot notation, and then we want to assign it a new value, in this case 26. So now that we have done that, we see here that the age has a new value 26. So we have overwritten this value here, this way. Now let's say we want to add a new key and value to the user object. How do we do that? So we go user dot. So what key we want? Let's say email. So we are trying to add an email key value pair to the user object. So we do it like this, user.email, and then we assign it the email address that we want, james@example.com. So now you can see in the updated user object, we have the email key with its new value, james@example.com. Okay, so now let's comment everything out to clear the console and talk about object versus array, when to use what. You use arrays when you want a list of values. For example, let colors equals and open square brackets for the array. Then we enter the strings red, blue, and green. So again, in this case, if we just want a list of values like red, blue, green, we reach out for arrays. However, if we want to describe something that has properties, we reach out for objects. For example, let car equals, and then open curly brackets for the object. And then here we start adding the key value pairs that we want. For example, the make, this is the key, and the value, Toyota, then comma separated, then another key, which is year in this case, and then the number 2020. Okay, let's comment this out and talk a little bit about nested objects. So you can even put an object inside another object. We will explore this more later, but I want to give you an example of that. For example, let person equals, and then open curly brackets for the object. And then the first key is going to be name. And then we have James, comma separated. And then here we want a new key, contact. But now we want to open another object, so with curly brackets. And then we want to add new key value pairs to this key, contact. So, for example, email, and then james@example.com, comma separated, and then phone, this is another key, inside the contact object. Then let's just add a phone number in the form of a string. So again here, what we've done is we declared a variable called person, then we assigned it an object using the curly brackets here, then we added the first key, name, and paired it with a value James, then comma separated, then we added another key, contact, but this time instead of just adding a value like we did here, we actually opened another object here, and then we started adding new key value pairs inside the contact object. So the first one is email, this is the first key, and that's the value of that key. And then this is the second key, phone, and this is the value of that other key. So let's say we are trying to access the email address. How do we do that? So we console log, you start from the top, the object, the main object, which is person, dot. So as you can see here, we have access to contact and name. But what do we really want? We want contact because the email key value pair that we are after is within the contact object. So we select that, then using dot notation again, we want to access the email. And now we see here in the console, james@example.com. Okay, so now let's comment these out to clear the console and move to our last item in this episode, which is the practice exercise. So I'd like you to create an object called book with the following keys: title, author, and pages. Then add a new key called isAvailable and set it to true. Then log the book's title and whether it's available. So pause the video now, have a go at it, and come back for the solution. Okay, so let's have a look at how we can solve this. So create an object called book with the following keys: title, author, and pages, and we want to pair them with some values. So we declare a variable called book, then we assign it an object between curly brackets, then we want the first key, which is title, and then let's add here the name of the book. So Atomic Habits, comma separated. Then we want the key author, and then here James Clear, comma separated, and then pages 320, the number 320. Okay, then we want to add a new key called isAvailable and set it to true. So how do we do that? So we first reach for the book object, then with dot notation, we add the new key that we want. So isAvailable. This is the new key that we want, and we want to assign it true, like so. So now when we console log the book title, we get Atomic Habit. And now when we console log book.isAvailable, we're gonna get true. So if now we console log book, we see that the new key isAvailable, which we added and assigned it a value true, has indeed been added to the book object. Okay, great work, guys. Now you know how to create and work with objects in JavaScript, which is something you'll be doing a lot as a developer. In the next episode, we'll level things up by combining arrays and objects together, because real-world data often mixes both. If you're finding this series helpful, give it a like and hit subscribe, and see you in the next one.